thank you for welcoming us to your wonderful abode here in Florida. This is our first time in Florida, and we're experiencing the weather. Yesterday we were driving and it was a little black and started to rain real hard, and I was ready to go inside. Although we are used to the same type of weather where we are, but I don't go outside when it rains. Today I'm going to discuss a diet issue amongst us as brethren. But before I begin, I'm going to bow my head for a word of prayer. Please join me. Heavenly Father, please bless me with your words. I pray, Lord Jesus, that your people will understand and hear and do as you say. Please, Lord, help us to overcome appetite. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So today we're going to discuss wheat. So many of us, most of the foods that we eat as Adventists are made up of wheat. We have our vital wheat gluten, our Nuggets, our chickets, and all the different types of things that compose the ingredients in our food usually includes wheat. Now I'm going to define wheat for you today. Wheat is a grass which is widely cultivated for its seed. It's a cereal grain, and the most commonly grown wheat is durum wheat. The original wheat is called einkorn wheat. We've gotten away from that wheat due to the hybridization of wheat. Einkorn wheat is a plant that contains 2 sets of chromosomes. The next hybridization wheat is emmer wheat. It contains 4 chromosomes. And of course, spelt and others contain 6 or more. The original wheat was made of 2 chromosomes, which each is a strand. They're 2 chains. So it's basically 14 chromosomes, which is basically the DNA of the plant. Our bodies were created to assimilate, digest, and receive benefits from the original wheat. But because of the hybridization, we are experiencing a multiple extreme descent of all these different forms of diseases, even amongst us as brethren. We have ailments and things are occurring with us as we become health reformers. They should be changing or not appearing at all, but they are becoming more and more prevalent amongst us because we are uneducated as to what the cause is. So let me read a few scientific facts about the wheat that we're eating. Okay, einkorn is like most plants in the diploid, meaning it contains 2 sets of chromosomes, as we discussed. Emmer wheat has 4, and kamut and durum are both descendants of emmer, and spelt, an heirloom wheat, is the result of hybridization between a cultivated emmer and other wild grasses. So we tend to eat the spelt wheat, which is okay, but it has 42 chromosomes. That's a big jump from the original wheat, which only has 14. Now, modern wheat is the descendant of spelt, which is the wheat that the majority of us eat today. And of course, no wheat, I could find no evidence that wheat has been genetically modified. It has not. But the process in which it has been hybridized is very detrimental to our health. Now, when we look at the wheat, the original wheat, the einkorn wheat, and the wheat of today, we see as it grows that the original wheat has a husk on it, but the current wheat doesn't. Because of the change in the proteins and the glutens, the wheat is a lot shorter because they want to mass produce it, and it weighs a lot less so it doesn't fall over and fall to the ground, so they can achieve more benefit from growing the hybridized wheat. In the event that they do that, most human beings are suffering. Now, hybridized wheat has an addictive properties, and studies have shown its connection to obesity, celiac disease, insulin resistance, heart disease, progressive aging, the lowering of your pH, Alzheimer's disease, and skin disorders. A review in the New England Journal of Medicine listed 55 diseases that can be caused by eating gluten. These include osteoporosis, irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease, anemia, cancer, fatigue, canker sores, and rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis, and almost all other autoimmune diseases. Gluten is also linked to many psychiatric and neurological diseases, including anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, dementia, and migraines, epilepsy, neuropathy, or nerve damage. And it also is linked to autism. Now that's a great amount of diseases that are occurring. Now do you guys remember, I remember when I was a little girl, and the old people, they usually died from cancer from smoking, or they had a heart attack, they worked themselves to death. You know, our parents and grandparents, they physically worked, and they lived long. But today we're dying young, and we're dying crippled and diseased. And even amongst Adventists, we are dying of many diseases that we should not have. Now, when the hybridization of wheat occurred, it not only changed the structure of the chromosomes, but it also changed the gluten and the gliadin. Now, gliadin is the most abundant protein in wheat, and it contains the gluten polymers. Now, in 2012, there's a different gliadin of the 1960s gluten from the original wheat einkorn. There's several amino acids that have been changed, and when our bodies take in this stuff that God never created for us to have, it does things. It tries to accommodate this foreign species, and it puts it in place, or it causes our bodies to react in a way that is detrimental to us. Now, there is something that is produced because of that, which is called gluten exorphins, and they are peptides that are isolated from the pepsin of wheat gluten, and they have a morphine-like opiate activity and can act like the body's own narcotic. The endorphins are addictive. So how many of us today love bread? And we love wheat gluten. And, oh, that sister made that, it's so good. They made barbecue so-and-so. We eat all these delicacies, these vegan that we call, or vegetarian delicacies. But do we know what we're really eating? Now, I want to read a quote from the Spirit of Prophecy. This is from Review and Herald, April 16th, 1901. And she says, Satan gathered the fallen angels together to devise some way of doing the most possible evil to the human family. One proposition after another was made, till finally Satan himself thought of a plan. He would take the fruit of the vine, also wheat and other things given by God as food, and would convert them into poisons, which would ruin man's physical, mental, and moral powers, and so overcome the senses that Satan would have full control. Under the influence of liquor, men would be led to commit crimes of all kinds. Through perverted appetite, the world would be made corrupt. By leading men to drink alcohol, Satan would cause them to descend lower and lower in scale. Satan has succeeded in turning the world from God. The blessings provided in God's love and mercy, he has turned into a deadly curse. He has filled men with a craving for liquor and tobacco. This appetite, which has no foundation in nature, has destroyed its millions. Now, remember what I mentioned just a moment ago about the ingredients in, or the effects from the exorphins. They have a morphine-like opiate activity in our bodies. So it's like a drug or a narcotic. Now, she says in Counsels on Diets and Foods and Testimonies for the Church 3, intemperance of any kind benumbs our perceptive organs and so weakens the brain nerve power that eternal things are not appreciated. But placed upon a level with the common, higher powers of the mind, designed for elevated purposes, are brought into slavery to the baser passions. It is our physical habits. If our physical habits are not right, our mental and moral powers cannot be strong, for great sympathy exists between the physical and the moral. The brain nerves, which communicate with the entire system, are the only medium through which heaven can communicate to man, and affect his inmost life. Whatever disturbs the circulation of the electrical currents in the nervous system lessens the strength of the vital powers, and the result is deadening of sensibilities of the mind. So when we eat these type of things, our sensibilities are deadened. We are striving so hard to overcome sin. We're striving so hard to conquer appetite, but we are challenged and we cannot attain, because we have to examine and educate ourselves on everything that we put in our bodies. Because the Bible tells us that whatever we do, we need to do it to the glory of God. Amen. And if we're not educating ourselves, we cannot trust who stands in the pulpit, but we have to study it for ourselves. Amen. I was in LA with my mom, who is 90, was 91 at the time, and when I'm not with my husband, I'm with my family. I have my own room, and I'm in there reading, and I'm like a secluded person because my whole family's Catholic, and they do things and participate in things that I don't participate in. But my mother wanted me, and I wanted to help. So as I studied and prayed, I called my husband and I said, we have to give up wheat. We're going to give it up when I get home. And we did. We gave up wheat last year. And our experience is that we both got rashes all in our face. We felt a little funny in the beginning. But after a while, we started to get clarity of mind and we started to feel better. We didn't recognize the effect that wheat really has on the brain and how we study. I could study something and understood it, but when I got to try to read it or explain it, I couldn't remember it because the wheat was consuming my mind. It's not just in the bread we eat, it's in almost everything you buy. We have to learn to make our own food. Yes. I make my own bread. I'm trying to learn how to make my own pasta. Of course, you can buy brown rice pasta and different things, but we really need to learn how to make our own things. That's what our grandparents did, and they were very healthy. And God gave us these things so that it could nurture our bodies. But if we don't understand how it affects our bodies, then how can we be an example to others? We have to be able to teach people by living the example. Now, there are two books that I'm going to request that you buy, and one is called Wheat Belly. And it's called Wheat Belly because so many people are walking around with bellies. They're on vegetarian diets, they eat very healthy, they exercise, they drink plenty of water, but they can't get rid of that belly. That gut is from the gluten that we are not able to digest or process. Also, there's a book called Brain Grain. And this book describes the effect of wheat on the brain. It causes dementia, schizophrenia, it causes depression. There's so many things that are going on within our church. We have people who are schizophrenic and who are depressed, but we're not able to embrace them. And when we do, or we get frustrated with them, we don't understand why they're behaving this way. And that shows our level of love in our character. And we need that change also because we're also affected by the wheat, which is why we're not responding to them properly. So we need to pray, brethren, that God will teach us these things in fullness. Yes, sister.
The author of Wheat Belly?
I have the name. I can give you the name. I didn't write it on the list. There's also a new syndrome called autobury. Now, this is when someone intakes a certain amount of wheat or an overload of wheat, and it turns into alcohol. Now, I just read a quote to you that Satan is going to destroy us through wheat and alcohol. And he's able to make it turn into alcohol in your system because it sits there, and because your body is unable to digest or process it properly, it stores it somewhere. And then we have our gut. So we take antibiotics and we destroy the good bacteria. That wheat in there is just fermenting and turning into alcohol. And we are drunk because of it. We say, oh, I forgot that. I'm not thinking, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have did that. Our minds are being taken over by the enemy, and we don't recognize it. We have to stay close to God, and we have to keep our mind clear of anything that would defile it, or we are going to lose our communication, and we're not going to be able to follow the direction he's leading us to.
What about the Ezekiel bread?
Ezekiel bread is made of wheat. And I don't eat Ezekiel bread. I eat the original wheat, which is einkorn. E-I-N-K-O-R-N. K-O-R-N is how it's spelled. You can buy it at Whole Foods. It's very expensive. For 2 pounds, it's about $7, but you are worth it. You can also buy it online in bulk, where you get a better price. You can also buy the wheat berries, which you can grind for yourself. My husband and I have a 40-acre farm, and we are farming, and it is a lot of work, and we are city folks who moved to the country, and we are learning. And it is my desire that we will one day be able to grow this wheat so that we could be able to distribute amongst the brethren. It's E-I-N-K-O-R-N. Okay, so in closing, I'm going to give you a quote from the book Grain Brain. He says, the origin of brain disease in many cases predominantly are dietary. The food we eat force our brains to develop biological pathways that leads to dysfunction and illness. Studies show that when given the right conditions, the brain can generate new cells and overcome in time and heal. So we can be healed by getting rid of this wicked wheat that we're eating and learning to pick better options than wheat. So I admonish you all to really study this principle out for yourselves and learn what I am learning, and I'm continuing to learn, and to change the diet in our family so that we can share this message with others.
Amen.
Thank you for having me.